RCHUB International Foundation for Research and Education, and ISO certified.
Okay, so let me hit the bullseye. The thing is that you may from various backgrounds. So with respect to various disciplines, the research methodologies varies. Yet, let me try to conglomerate what are the important thing what you have taken into consideration with respect to research methodology, and I will be touching some points, very important points with respect to statistics, which is very much beneficial for everyone as a scholar, because obviously you have to perform an analysis of the data what you have and provide an interpretation through which you have to make findings, conclusion, and suggestions. So let me start the session. And the thing is that when we talk about research, obviously everybody know the definition. So it's all about how you collect the data and how you analyze the data and how you interpret those data to provide useful findings, suggestions, and conclusions based on your research. So that's what research is all about. Sometimes it is something like discovering something what it is existing, and you're discovering and illustrating to everyone around the world. So that is what is called as research. So research, that's what it's already in existence. You are discovering it and quoting an information to the entire world. So that's what research is all about. Or you are innovatively creating something out of something. So that's what the research is all about. So it could be put in two different ways. Either you are creating something out of some other things that is already in existence is also research, or you are discovering something what is already been existence is also called as a research. So fundamentally, this research has various motivation, and most of you getting a degree is something like very important. But the thing is that the real research happens only after you get the degree. Based on my own experience, I have conducted various researches. The thing is that when I was a scholar, that was a completely different path where I have learned about what research is all about. And after that, when I get into the field, it is after that I have found out that research is completely different from the what I did when I was a scholar. So motivational research, when we think about or from the experience point of view, it's all starts from the curiosity of what is happening and why the particular thing is happening. And in order to solve those puzzles, we get into research. And when we do that, obviously we end up in discovering new things that is being not discovered yet. And the most important thing is that with these discoveries, we may able to improvise the efficiency of a particular process or a product or something like a service oriented thing, like anything like that. And most important thing is that if this is done and if this really improves the efficiency and effectiveness of a particular product or a service or a process, this will contribute to the knowledge and accomplishment through publications. So the motivation of research is all these things, but the root is the curiosity to solve a problem. So that's what is research is all about. So fundamentally, you may have these are the illustrative things about the objectives of the research, but I tell you how you have to frame an objectives. So let me talk about the objectives of the research first. These are from the theoretical point of view. These completely are in a theoretical background. So when we talk about the objectives of research, obviously to explore the new unknown areas or a new phenomena, to describe the characteristics and explain what is happening and what have happened, to analyze and find the patterns and solution, to predict the future trends. So these are all the objectives of the research. So how you have to frame your objectives for your research? So this is a fundamental question, right? So you may, with respect to your research, you may have framed an objective, because I see many of the scholars are making mistakes while framing the objectives. So especially the management or commerce or social science studies students or make because with respect to scientific research or experimental research, it's completely different. But when we look at the social science or management or commerce, it should have a flow, it should have a continuity, and moreover, it should have a clarity. That's very important. Um, say for example, if you're conducting a social science or a management or what do I say, like commerce related research, you need to make sure that there is continuity. It should start with the study, to study and understand the following concept. Then to identify the factors and variables associated with the study. And that's how your second objective has to be. Then your third objective is to, you have identified the factors. First, you have made a study. Then you have identified the factors using the study method. And then the third is to analyze the factors that has been considered for the study. And fourth is to make estimation of what is the impact of this factor on that factor, and finally give a suggestion. You see, there is a flow. This is how your objective has to be. Generally, scholars generally start with to analyze the impact, to analyze this and that. No, it should not be. There should be a continuity and there should be a flow. The flow in the sense, it should be starting the study, it should go with identifying the factor, it should move on with to analyze, to estimate, and finally give a suggestion. So this is how the objective flow has to be. From theoretical point of view, these objectives of the research are rooted with the theoretical background, what I have stated here. Generally, this has been done to explore the unknown areas or the phenomena, or describe the characteristics or find a relationship. Say, for example, to find the relationship between the salary and the job satisfaction. So what you will write, what we'll do to identify the relationship between the salary or the compensation and the job satisfaction with respect to the employees in IT sector. So that's how you write, right? So all these the formation of objectives falls under these the phenomenons, what the falls under these criteria what I have illustrated here. So talking about the types of research design, there are much more research designs that is being there, but these are predominantly used research designs. To talk about the first and foremost is the descriptive research design. As the name suggests, it's all about describing the characteristics or the phenomena of what have happened using the data collected. Generally, descriptive research design is also known as a survey research design, which means it involves surveying. Say, for example, if you wanted to know the customer satisfaction for a particular product, what you do, you will frame a questionnaire. You go to a person who have bought that particular product. You will ask about whether the features of the product are good, whether the service, after sales service was good, and how far you are satisfied with the product. So you take a survey, right? So these kind of research is called as a descriptive research design. So then comes the analytical research design. Analytical research design is a research design where you already have the data, that has been published by someone else. The thing is that you are going to use those published data, you're going to perform an analysis, and then you're going to insightfully acquire any information that is not been discovered yet. So that is what is called as an analytical research design. So analytical research, say for example, the government have published that in EPIDA, there is a website called as EPIDA, Agriculture Process Export Promotion Council of India. Actually, they have illustrated how many agriculture product is being exported from India in terms of rupees and in terms of quantity. These data are completely published by the government of India. And if you're going to analyze those data and you are going to provide information like, say, if you are going to focus on these so and so countries, you may be able to acquire more and more profit. And if you're going to focus on so and so countries, obviously we may be able to have better trade relationship. So this kind of study is called as analytical research and analytical research design. Here, the published data is already present. We are going to analyze and give more insightful information. So this is what is called as analytical research design. Applied research design is not much used by the scholars, but by the business peoples. Say for example, if a company have encountered a certain problem, they want an immediate solution. They don't want a solution after a year or a decade. That does not work out, right? So they wanted to find an immediate solution. So for that, they make a research called as an applied research. The applied research is specifically done to solve a particular problem. So this is what is called as applied research. Say, for example, if you take a case study with respect to surf excel, not sorry, with respect to Ariel, which is a detergent, the thing is that it got completely washed out from the Gulf market over when they have entered into the market. And later they found out that the people in the Gulf used to read uh, from right to left. From left to right. Unlike us, we read from right to left. They read from left to right. So they have characterized like a clean T-shirt. When put into detergent, it will become a when dirty T-shirt put into detergent becomes a clean. But they have read in a reverse way. A clean T-shirt when put into detergent becomes a dirt. So the thing is that the wrong marketing strategy has been applied. So then they have turned the package and they have completely scrutinized the package, and later they re-entered the market and they started to make sales. So this is what is called as applied research. So finding a problem, finding a solution to an immediate problem. And fundamental research is like you are gaining a new knowledge without any immediate use. It's like just like how an atom is made, what is the structure of an atom, how the nucleus of an atom will be. So you are driving deep into the fundamental thing, right? To gain new knowledge, so that for which strong foundation was not there. So for these kind of studies is called as a fundamental research. And then comes a quantitative and qualitative. Say, for example, something that is measurable. Say, for example, if you wanted to measure the impact of training in terms of weight of a trainee. So, for example, you are giving a training and you are checking the weight and you are checking the height and you are checking the BP rate, the blood pressure rate, and you are also measuring the heartbeat rate. So all these are quantifiable numbers, right? So you can measure the weight, you can measure the height using the tape, and you can measure the heart rate using the sensors, and everything is measurable. So these kind of study that completely deals with numerical data is called as a quantitative analysis. The quantity, the data are quantifiable, whereas something that is non-numerical, say for example, if someone ask you how far you are satisfied with this particular training, you will be saying yes, I'm satisfied or highly satisfied. But the thing is that it doesn't have any number, right? Qualitative or something that is unquantifiable. It doesn't have numerical value. It's completely non-numerical. Say, for example, what is your opinion on the particular product you have purchased from the Amazon? With respect to the features, you may telling, yeah, this is good, but this is bad. But the thing is that it doesn't have any quantifiable numbers. So these kind of research design that deals with opinions, that deals with emotions, that deals with feelings, that deals with non-numerical data, for which you frame a Likert scale and then you get the opinion. This kind of research design is called as a qualitative research design. Conceptual research design is something like you are developing a theory. Say, for example, Big Bang. It's a theory. Someone has told that, yeah, there was a huge planet and it burst out, and from that the universe got evolved. So there is no empirical evidence. There is no evidential proof. The other theories, like the humans have evolved from the monkey. These are theories. We don't have evidential proofs. We have not seen any monkey that is in the transformation stage from monkey to the human being. That is, we have not seen someone in the intermediate. So we have not seen that. So these are theories. These kind of theories is called as a concept. Framing these kind of theories is called as conceptual research design. And empirical is something like you observed, you experimented, and you experienced. Say, for example, I'm into the field of research for past 12 years. So taking this into consideration, I have such a certain judgment about the scholars, about the students, about the students posting and learning about the data analyst. So taking this is an empirical. So when I conduct a research with respect to this is called as empirical research. So I am into an academic field and I am into a research field. So taking this into consideration for past 12 years, if I have experience and if I'm going to make a research in the very same domain, then it becomes an empirical research. And most important thing is that you must have at least 3 years of experience in it. Say, for example, you are working in an IT company. Say you are working in an IT company and you are going to conduct a research. You are going to conduct a research in the IT domain. Then it is called as an empirical research design. So that comes one-time research. Say it is conducted only once, longitudinal. Sometimes it is conducted in a periodic time. Say, for example, taking census and clinical research, something that is experimented in a particular clinic, and diagnostic research. Say, for example, if there is some problem, this is also medical-based research where uh, uh, what could be the reason for a particular problem that will be seen and diagnosed. So these are the different types of research. I tell you why I am covering this particular topic because as a scholar, you will be raised question in three important parts. One is the research methodology. Second is the analysis, what you have performed using the data you have collected for your study. And third is your major findings. So when we talk about this research methodology, I repeat once again, generally all the scholars will during the viva get uh, sorry during the viva get the questions only from the research methodology or the statistics what they performed using the data they or have obtained for your study, and then finally the major findings. So taking this into consideration, the most important thing what you have to focus with respect to research methodology is the research design. So I tell you what this research design is all about. So research design is something what I have illustrated here. So it tells you fundamentally what kind of research you have performed for your study. Say for example, descriptive means I told you, right? Whether you have took a survey from the respondents or analytical study, either or else you have collected the data that is already been published and then you have made an analysis or applied. You are finding a, say for example, some of the management students used to do analysis. Yeah, some of the management students used to do study on the yojanas or some of the schemes that is being developed by the government. They wanted to identify the immediate problems with respect to the schemes. They cannot be pulled down. This research cannot be pulled down for years because that scheme have already been implemented. The issues that is related to the scheme has to be immediately found out and that has to be rectified. So for that, they make applied research and fundamental research as to gain a knowledge on an unknown field, or quantitative, that is either you have collected a data that is completely quantifiable and analyzed, or qualitative, that is unquantifiable but you have made a Likert scale based questions options, and then you have analyzed qualitative data analysis or conceptual. So fundamentally research design will illustrate what kind of fundamental what kind of research you have carried out with respect to your study. So this is what is research design is all about. So the next important question what you will be asked with respect to research methodology is what is a research program. So I tell you what, I see many of the scholars doesn't correlate the research problem with the objectives. I tell you, everything has a coherence. Everything has a coherence. That is, the review of literature has to be reflected on the objectives. And the most important thing is that the research gap. I will tell you that. So that has to be reflected in the statement of problem. The statement of problem has to be reflected in the research problem, and the research problem has to be reflected into the objectives, and objectives has to be reflected into the questionnaire in case if you're using the questionnaire, and then this has to be reflected into the analysis and interpretation, and finally the objective based research has to be illustrated in the findings, suggestion, and conclusion. So this is how the coherence has to be. I see many scholars framing a research problem that is nowhere related to the objectives. We need to make sure that every research problem is converted into an objective. That's very important. And the most important thing is that use the simple words. That's very important. The thing is that sometimes from my experience point of view, the thing is that we are not sending our thesis only to US or UK peoples or the European peoples who are very much fluent in English. Sometimes we may use a foreign author who is somewhere from the Gulf or somewhere from the African continent. So, or somewhere in the Australia. So the thing is that if you are going to use more and more of technical words, they may get or they may rise a question, the very fundamental thing that is from the research problem itself. So despite you have given a study concept chapter, they may not able to exactly grasp what you're telling. So always use clear sentences, simple sentences, and most important thing is that illustrate the specific issues of why you have chosen this particular topic and why you have chosen this particular objectives and what made you investigate this particular research. So this is what is research problem is all about. Research problem clearly illustrates why the researcher have is going to investigate on this particular topic, what all the solution he will be coming up with. So research gap is something like novelty. So novelty in the sense, this is very important in research because I see most of the scholars are stating that this research is being conducted in this particular area, but it's not been conducted in this area. So I'm conducting. See, this is okay. Research gap is okay. Yet research gap is something more important. It's like you are discovering something that is not been discovered before. You have went through various review of literature and you have found out that these are the important factors and you have found out that there are connection between these factors, but you are going to study something. You are going to create a model out of these factor and then you are going to analyze like this. It's like it's a novel concept which has not been studied before. This topic has been studied before, but the concept what you have coined right now for your study or is not been discovered before. It's not been analyzed before. That is what is research gap is all about. Say for example, a year before I have conducted a study using Software Technological Park of India. And the most important thing what I have discovered is that many of the studies is being concentrated only with respect to Chennai as a district. But the most important thing is that despite there is a very small amount of STPIs, Software Technological Park of India in Coimbatore, they have generated a significant revenue and this particular study area is not being studied before. So that was one of the important research gap. And the second research gap was that many of the people have studied about the challenges faced by the Software Technological Park of India, but none have been able to understand or none have been studied about the schemes that is being availed by the companies in the Software Technological Park of India. That's very important, right? So I thought this was a major research gap and this has not been done before. So I thought, why can't I start doing that? That is a novel concept. So novel concept, it's like it has not been discovered before and you're going to discover it. It is in existence, yet it is not been discovered before and you're going to discover it. So that is what is the research gap is all about. It's like the area that is not been addressed before. That's very important because generally when they talk about research methodology, they will be asking you what kind of research design you have adopted, what is the research gap you have identified through the review of literature, what is your research problem, and what are the objectives correlating to the research problem, and finally your hypothesis. They will look whether your hypothesis is also correlating with the objectives or what. So I tell you what this hypothesis is all about. Hypothesis is a tentative statement that is testable using the statistics. It may illustrate the relationship between two variables, or it may illustrate the association between the two variables, or it may two or more variables, or it may also illustrate about impact of one variable on many variables and so on and on. So end of the day, a hypothesis is a statement. Hypothesis is a statement that has to be tested using statistics or using the research. So this is what is hypothesis is all about. And if you are conducting a social science or management or commerce research, you will be asked why you're choosing this particular area, the study area justification. For the technical aspect, they will be asking you why this particular algorithm, why not that algorithm, what kind of algorithm you have changed. what you have changed with this particular algorithm, why you have changed. So these kind of things might be asked with respect to the research methodology and the population sample with respect to research. So population and sample in the sense, in most of the research, you will be collecting data from the respondents. If you are doing an experimental based study, it's completely different. Say for example, if you are into an you are conducting a research with respect to, what do I say? Say find AI based on AI ML. So you will be looking at the algorithms. Whereas if you're studying about the job burnout among the faculties in higher education institution, there you will be collecting the data. There your sample is your faculties. So the faculties in the sense, excuse me, yeah, you have to collect the data. And with respect to Tamil Nadu, or with respect to, yeah, let us consider Tamil Nadu. There are nearly more than 400 institutions, and among which there will be more than 10,000, not even 10,000, we can say more than 20,000 employees, 20,000 faculties get involved. So taking this into consideration, we make a calculation. Obviously, we have to end up with a sample size. So in order to calculate the sample size, we use a sample size formula known as known population size formula and unknown population size formula. Say, for example, if your population size is known, say, for example, in Software Technological Park of India, with respect to Chennai, there is only 12 software technological park in Chennai. And in that, each and every software technological park of India has 100 to 150. The sample is known. So if your population size is known, you can calculate the sample size using this formula, known population size formula. And in case, if you don't know the sample size, say for example, the number of people who are using e-commerce platform for buying products. So obviously it goes beyond million and billion, and there is infinite population. In such a case, you have to use this formula, and this will come around 385, which means if you are going to collect a data from more than 385 samples, that is more than sufficient to project or justify your sample size. That's very important. So 385 is a magic number. So try, in case if you are from the social science or management or commerce or medical field who are involved in understanding about the patients, this 385 is a magic number. Try to know about it. So this is the formula that is being used. So talking about the sampling technique, so we have various sampling technique. Obviously, this sampling technique can be categorized two types. One is a probability sampling, and next is the non-probability sampling. Probability sampling, in the sense, you are giving equal chance for all the population that has been involved in the study. Say, for example, equal chance of being selected. Say, for example, you have 100 exporters, and if you're using simple random sampling, which means there is equal chance of anyone to get selected out of 100. So that is what is called a simple random sampling, and that is what is probability sampling is all about. Probability sampling, in the sense, you are giving weightage to everyone in the population that has been considered. And systematic sampling, in the sense, you are randomly selecting a particular sample in a given interval of time. Say, for example, you have to take a collect a survey from 100 houses, 10 houses. From 100 houses, what do? You collect the data from the first house, the 10th house, the 20th house, the 30th house. You see, there is equal interval between each and everything. So this is what is called as systematic sampling. Stratified sampling, in the sense, you will be segregating the group, segregating the person into each group. Say, for example, a person who loves coffee into a separate group, a person who loves tea as a separate group, and a person who likes like, yeah, so like something else, like beverage, into a separate group, and from each group you take the representative and then you study. This is what is called a stratified. Whereas cluster is something different. Cluster, in the sense, you will segregate as a heterogeneous group. Heterogeneous group, in the sense, if you take one group, it will be having a one person who loves coffee, who loves tea, and a one person who loves beverage. This is a cluster. Cluster is nothing but a heterogeneous group. And from there will be so many clusters, and you will be selecting the cluster randomly, and then you study. This is what is called as cluster sampling. Area sampling like this is confined to geographical areas. Say, for example, I'm going to study with respect to CHENNAI district. This is called as area sampling. Multi-stage sampling is something at multiple levels, the multiple area sampling. This is what I could say. Like, say, for example, from CHENNAI, I'm going to collect data from each and every taluks. You see, CHENNAI as a district, and each and every taluks. From each and every taluk, I'm going to collect data. So that is what it has: 2 stage or 3 stage with respect to a particular area. Sequential sampling, obviously, sampling that continues in a sequential manner till the sample size is reached. Non-probability in the sense there is something called as purposive. Say, for example, yeah, if I go and collect from this particular person, I may able to obtain a right data. So that is what is called as deliberate or purposive sampling. There is something called as quota sampling. And there are other samplings like snowball sampling. I tell you what this snowball sampling is all about. Say, for example, you are doing a research on a sensitive topic. Say, for example, addiction. So you can't simply go to a person and ask, are you drug addicted? So what you do is that you know a particular person who is drug addicted. So what you do is that you go, you ask him, you collect the data, and with that particular person, you ask the other person, is there any other person you know who is drug addicted just like you? And he will be pointing out some other person, and you go collect the data, and you will be finally you will be asked the same question. That is, do you know any other person who is very similar to you who got drug addicted? So he will be pointing out someone else. So it moves on and on and on. So this is what is called a snowball sampling. So these are the different types of sampling techniques that could be used with respect to the studies. Whereas if it is an experimental data, you have no other options. It is always advisable to use the whole voluminous set of data that has been generated by the experiment or the equipment or something like that. It is because it is advisable not to avoid any data, because these are the data that has been generated, not generated, but uh, it's a real-time output, right? So it is always advisable to consider all the data set, irrespective of the number, the sample size. So this is a very important thing. Many scholars think the statistics is the very hardest part. I tell you what, statistics is very, very simple. You believe me or what, the statistics is generally done only for the 4 reasons. 5 reasons. Either to describe a particular data set, that is mean, median, mode, standard deviation, kurtosis, skewness. That is what is called as describing the data set. So, or we do statistics for this one particular reason, or the second reason is to find, is there any association between both the variables, or there is many study variables that has been considered for the study. Or is there any significant relationship between the variables that has been considered for the study? Or is there any significant difference between the variables that has been considered for the study? Or is there significant influence of one variable on the other variable? So it is only for these 5 reasons we are performing the entire statistics. It is only for these 5 reasons we are performing this entire statistics. So you may have a question. So all these seems to be similar. What is the great difference between it? I tell you what, in order to know about these things, you have to understand that with respect to research, you might have heard that there are different types of data, just like nominal data, ordinal data, the scale data, the ratio data. Forget about it. When it comes to statistics, there are only 2 types of data. You believe me or what, statistics is simple, provided you understand this fundamental concept. That is, when it comes to statistics, there are only 2 types of data. One is the categorical data, and second is the numeric data. So what is this categorical data and what is this metric data? So categorical data is the data, say for example, say male, female. This is a category, right? And what do you prefer? Tea, coffee. This is also one second category, right? Which area, the area of residence, urban, rural, semi-urban. So these kind of data is called as categorical data. Whereas metric data is something that is quantifiable. That is quantifiable in terms of number. What is your height? Dash in centimeter. What is your weight? Dash in kg. What is your age? Dash in terms of years. But in case if you are giving an option like this, what is your age? Less than 25. 25 to 35. The third option is 36 to 45. The fourth option is above 45. Then it becomes a categorical data. If you simply put what is your age dash in years, it is metric data. In case if you are transformed into like this, A option, B option, C option, then it becomes categorical data. Don't get confused with that. Okay. So data with respect to statistics, data type is just two. One is categorical and metric. So with these data types, we have only following options. Either the data, both the data could be categorical in nature, or one data could be categorical and other data could be metric, or both the data could be metric. So these are already only option that is being available. So in case if your data is categorical in nature, if your data is categorical in nature, if you want to do a univariate analysis, you have to do only percentage analysis. If it is a metric data, go for descriptive statistics. So what is descriptive statistics? It's all about mean, median, mode, standard deviation, kurtosis, and skewness. So this is what is called as the descriptive statistics. So mean is nothing but the average value. Median is nothing but the middle value. Say, for example, you have took 50 vehicles, 50 Royal Enfield bikes for your for study, and you found out that the average mileage of the 50 Royal Enfield bike was found to be 28. So that is average value. But in case if you are lazy, in case say for example I'm doing the study and I'm a little bit lazy, so what I do is that I will arrange all the 50 bikes. I will take the middle bike, that is the 25th bike, and I will check the mileage, and it was found to be 27. So I assume that this is the average mileage. So this is what is called as median is nothing but middle value. And mode is the most repeated value. Most repeated value is the, for example, 28 could be the mileage of the bike, but most of the bike would be giving nearly out of 50 bikes, nearly 30 bikes could have given a mileage of 30. So this is the most repeated value. So here the research the researcher may consider this 30 as also a average value. So this is the mode value is as an average value also. So this is what is called as a most repeated value. Standard deviation is nothing but how far the value is getting deviated from the mean value, that is the central value. And kurtosis is a measure of peakness, and skewness is a measure of flatness. Say, for example, if you're into the stock market analysis, generally we look at the kurtosis, the peakness, and the skewness, the flatness. Skewness is nothing but the measure of where it is skewed, whether it is positively skewed or negatively skewed, which means, say, for example, I'm giving an exam, which is very easy. So what happens is that many of the students will be getting more marks, greater than 50 to 100. So this kind of skewness is called as negatively skewed. In case if I given an examination which is completely tough, so what happens is that majority of the students will be getting the marks between less than 50, and very least amount of students will be getting the marks above 50. So this kind of skewness is called as the positively skewed. So this kind of measurement is called as skewness. So in case if both the data are categorical in nature, say for example, smoking, non-smoking, cancer patient, non-cancer patient, both are categorical data, right? In order to test this, you can go for association test using chi-square statistics. So if both the data are categorical in nature, at that point of time, you have to identify whether the data are significantly associated with one another or what. So in order to do that, you can either go for chi-square test or correspondence analysis. But there is a certain criteria for correspondence analysis. Both the questions should have more than 2+ options. Say, for example, area of residence and earning, income level. area of residence having three options like urban, semi-urban, rural, and your earnings in the sense less than 25,000, 25,000 to 35,000, 35,000 to 45,000, above 1 lakh rupees. So many options. So these are the things. So when you have both the data with more than 2 plus categorical options for both the questions, then you can go for association test using chi-square test or the correspondence analysis. And if both the data are metric in nature, say for example, India's GDP and population, both are numbers, right? Population is number, GDP is number. So in order to, if both the data are metric, then you can go for relationship test using correlation analysis. If there is a significant correlation between both the variables, then you can go for regression analysis. So this is what is the significant relationship, and this is what is called a significant influence. So, and finally, the significant difference. If one data is categorical and another data is metric, at that point of time, you will be doing significant difference test. So there are different types of t-test that we employ to obtain, we employ to do the significant difference test. And all these t-tests have different set of criteria. Say for example, independent sample t-test, you need to have only two options. Whereas for ANOVA, you can have multiple options in categorical data. One way ANOVA, you need to have a standard value. Paired sample t-test is, it has a criteria like the same set of sample, but before and after. Say, for example, what is the knowledge about the research before training and after this training. So this kind of thing is called as a paired sample t-test. So this is the chart. These are the all statistical analysis. This is a short, if you look at this chart, this is what is the entire statistics is all about. So if you are going to have only analyze a particular categorical data, you have to do only percentage analysis. If it is a metric data, you have to do descriptive statistics. And if both the data are categorical data, and if both the data, it has only two options, and you need to do association test using chi-square statistics. If both the data are having 2 plus options, you need to do correspondence analysis. And if both the data are metric, go for correlation analysis. If both the data are metric and it has significant relationship, go for regression analysis. And if one data is having only two options, the categorical data has only two options, and other is the metric data, go for independent sample t-test. If the categorical data is having more than 2 plus option, go for, and other data is metric, go for ANOVA. Similarly, if it's a standard value, and similarly in the parametric test is generally done if your sample size is high. Obviously, your data set will follow the normal distribution. In case your sample set is low, if it is falls under less than 30 or less than 60, at that point of time, you need to check whether the data are normally distributed. If the data are not normally distributed, you have to do non-parametric test. What is non-parametric test? These are the tests specifically designed to do analysis with less set of samples. Say, for example, instead of paired sample t-test, you can use, instead of ANOVA analysis, you can use Kruskal-Wallis test. Instead of independent sample t-test, you can use Mann-Whitney test. And instead of regression analysis, you can use the quantile regression or rank-based regression. Or instead of this correlation, Pearson correlation, you can use Spearman correlation. So these are the non-parametric tests that's available. So this is the entire statistics. So if you know this table, obviously you may easily put into use what kind of analysis for the data you are using for your research. And these are advanced statistics, generally used to identify whether there is mediating effect or moderating effect. And we also have some other advanced statistics exclusively for secondary data like VAR, V, CM, and so on and on. So these are the important tools that are predominantly used in most of the research. That is SPSS, or you can use PSPP, which is completely open source. The AMOS or PLS or Tableau, or most important, the eViews, the Power BI, Excel, Grittle, everything could be, these are the predominantly and most important statistical tools that a scholar has to know, and it is of a great importance when you are performing an analysis. So these are the important things, ma'am. So I know I have covered various topics, yet the thing is that we are running out of time because tomorrow I have to teach you some of the statistical tools using SPSS or Excel or something like that. And after that, I have to talk about the publications. So I think only if I go with this phase, I may able to complete the topics that I have planned for this particular sessions. Okay, so let me revise what I have illustrated. So first, I told you what this research is all about. Research is all about either you are you are developing an innovative thing from an existing thing, or you are discovering something that is already in existence that is not done before. So research. So this is what research is all about. So what are the motivation of research? I told you the fundamental, the root thing is a curiosity to solve the problem. And we have talked about the objectives of the research, and I also have illustrated how the flow of objectives for your research has to be. It should start with a study and end up with a suggestion. That is, it should start with a study, identify the factors, analyze the factors, estimate the impact of one factor on another factor, and finally suggestion. That is how the flow of objectives has to be. And we have discussed about various types of research designs predominantly used for with respect to the research. And then I have already illustrated what this research problem is all about, how it should be correlated to the objectives. What is research gap? That is novelty of your research is the research gap. And hypothesis, a tentative statement that is testifiable using the statistics. That is what is hypothesis. And the study area justification we have talked about the samples and population, how to determine the sample size for the known population and unknown population. And 385 is a magic number. That is, in case if you don't know your population size, and if it goes beyond millions and billions, it is always advisable to take a sample size greater than 385. And if you're going to consider a sample size greater than 385, that is more than sufficient to project the result, even in case the population is known. Say, for example, your estimated sample size is found to be around 300, but yet you have took a sample of 412, that is more justifiable. You will be getting more reliable result that is close to the actual result. And we have also discussed about the various types of sampling technique, including snowball sampling, which is not being listed here. And then different types of data collection, obviously you know about it, like observation or personal interview or telephonic interview or mailing or scheduling the interview, or experimentally you are obtaining the data or so on. And finally, the important thing I have discussed about statistics. So we are doing the statistics only for the 5 reasons: to describe the data set, or to find the significant association with the variables, or significant relationship between the variable, or significant difference between the variable, or significant influence of one variable on the another variable. So, and I also told statistics only deals with 2 types of data. One is categorical metric, and it is based on this, what kind of statistics has to be performed is determined. Say, for example, if the data, if the data is you are going to do univariate analysis, that is only using one data. If it is categorical, go for percentage analysis. If it is metric, go for descriptive statistics. But if you're going to consider 2 data, both the data are categorical in nature, go for significant association test. For this, you can either do chi-square statistics or correspondence analysis. And if both the data are metric, then you have to go for significant relationship test using correlation analysis. And if there is significant relationship, you can go for significant influence test using regression analysis. And then we have, in case if one data is categorical in nature, another data is metric in nature, you can go for significant difference test. So this is all about the statistics. In next session, I will be explaining you how to perform all these statistics using the data set, so that you may better able to grasp over the statistics, what the statistics is all about. So is everything clear in today's session, Ma? So this 10 minutes is the time to ask all your doubts So if anything is not clear, or if you have any doubts related to your research, feel free to ask me. If I have a knowledge on it, I will obviously let you know. Yeah, please. Any questions? Anyone? Any questions?
Contact RC Hub International Foundation for Research and Education. WhatsApp 9888 231 231.